Okay, perfect. So you guys can go ahead and see that once again. This is our NROTC. We're going with the marine option. Going to go to the next slide. So this is a little bit of an intro. It kind of explains the differences between what an enlisted Marine is and then also what a Marine Corps officer is. So there's two different options, and then also you'll see that there's the Navy side as well. Specifically, what we're going to be talking about today is the Marine side. Some of the things that we're going to be going over too is just kind of the details, the in and outs of what it takes to actually become a Marine Corps officer, what this program is gonna, the requirements towards it, and then once you're actually in college. So, quick little insight of what it is if you are qualified, and we'll go over the requirements in a bit. And this is essentially a scholarship for you to pay through your entire college. But not only that, you're going to be learning a lot of the military ways of doing things. So after you would graduate, you'd be able to utilize this as your experiences, and you'll have that type of edge when you're actually becoming an officer, that you've already had some experience of the leadership that you're going to learn within the program, also some of the military knowledge. So you wouldn't be going in blind. So what I mean by that is that once you actually become an officer, you're already going to know all the terminology, because there's essentially some different ways of going about this program. So if you're to go officer after you get your degree and not do this program, the difference is you're kind of going in and you're just going to kind of be learning everything at once. This is really going to essentially prepare you for, if you were to go officer, that you would already be a step ahead in general. So going in as being an officer, you're gonna be able to have the knowledge and skills to be able to really just kind of take off, and you'll be ahead of all your peers that didn't do this program. To really explain the differences between the enlisted and the Marine Corps officer, I'd like to paint it in the best way possible, because I don't know where you guys' knowledge is on the actual Marine Corps, the military itself. Essentially, an enlisted Marine, I would explain it like, for example, your local, your big companies near where you live. So you probably utilize Target or something like Walmart. The way I'd like to paint this is that if you're enlisted, usually you'd be starting, if you were to get a job at any of those places, you'd probably be starting as a cashier, a bagger, something like that, and you'll work your way up all the way up to being a section manager, and then maybe even a store manager, which is a very high position. But essentially, going a Marine Corps officer is a whole different route. So what that route means is that you would skip all of that, and what you would do is, because of the skills and what you've done to do the prior training, you go straight up into a region, a district, corporate level with the organization. So you would be handling a lot more than just one thing. You'd be handling anywhere from the whole western side of the organization or the company. So that's exactly what the difference is between an enlisted and an officer. And then that's not to say that you can't eventually go that route, as far as if you did go the enlisted route and then to the officer. But this is just kind of that jump start to where you can kind of already have that edge and just skip straight to the top and be able to lead the enlisted Marines. So I hope that paints a picture a little bit. If it doesn't, we'll be able to explain a little bit more questions towards the end of what it is. But essentially, you're going to be starting at a higher level based off of the prerequisite things that you've done to get to that level. Go ahead and go to the next slide. Go ahead and, this is our mission right here. What the NROTC mission is, you guys can go ahead and read it. But essentially, it's to ensure that we have the highest and qualified people to join and become the leaders of the enlisted Marines. The Marine Corps is obviously what it is once a Marine, always a Marine. It's a very, we hold ourselves in a separate manner to be very professional, and that's exactly what it is you'd be a professional, not only with your education, but then also with your leadership, and then also everything else that you bring to the table. Go ahead and go to the next slide. I'll give you guys a second to go ahead and read this as life as a midshipman.
I can take a little bit of it too.
Okay.
So the life as a midshipman. So this is just kind of giving a breakdown of the lifestyle that you would have as a Marine option midshipman, which is really somebody who has already been accepted for the scholarship and is going through school. So you're going to take a normal college workload, right? If you're accepted for this scholarship, your major in college is it does not matter. The Marine Corps is not necessarily focused on whether or not you're a biology major or engineering or history. It's doesn't really matter to the Marine Corps at that point. So you're going to take a normal college course load, but you're also going to have the expectation of taking a NROTC class. So those different classes that you'll have is usually a class followed with a lab. That lab is more of a leadership lab. They'll bring in guest speakers. You'll be doing military-oriented type educational things, if you will, learning how to write operations orders and things of that nature. And then the class itself is just going to kind of bring you up. It's the building blocks to kind of teach you about the Marine Corps, about the Navy as a whole, because the Marine Corps is it's a part of the Navy, even though it is its own branch. It's a department of the Navy. And it's giving you the background information that you need to try to build you up and give you that good sound knowledge base as a midshipman throughout your time in college. Next slide. So there's a lot on these slides, and I'm not going to read everything. They are generally, we can make this available to you if need be. But at the end of the day, again, kind of like I was saying, there's a lot of things that you're going to do with the NROTC program on top of taking a normal college course load. So I can tell you there is an expectation that you're going to maintain a certain grade point average. You have to maintain that throughout school, or you do risk losing your scholarship. That's a very rare occurrence, so that should not, I don't want that to shock anyone or to, make anyone nervous about applying. But, life as a midshipman, it's generally gonna, they're gonna teach you how to use your time wisely. It's gonna be a very structured environment, and they're going to assist you along the way in ensuring that you stay on top of your academics, as well as the NROTC classes that you've taken, the labs. And again, those labs and those classes kind of, they incorporate a lot of things. Like I said, guest speakers. There's a lot of training events that you're going to do. You're going to be able to do field training. You're going to be able to go out and do weapons training, tactics training, swim qualifications. You're going to do physical training. Obviously, the Marine Corps is huge into physical training and ensuring that each Marine is physically fit and ready to fight whatever that next battle may be. And then there's also a lot of fun events that they do as an NROTC organization. So it's not all work and no play. It's a little bit of both, but it's extremely beneficial training program that not a lot of Marine officers get. So it's definitely beneficial. Next slide. So we talked a little bit about the school training, right? So normal academic course load, you're going to have the NROTC program in the lab. There's also going to be summer training events, right? So under the 4-year scholarship, the first thing that you're going to do, it's called CORTRAMID. It's Career Orientation and Training for Midshipmen. So what that is, it's about a month long, and it's going to take you down through it's kind of a fire hose effect in a sense of the information that they're giving you. So they're going to give you some Navy experience. You're going to check out some surface warfare ships, kind of get, some classes. You're going to be able to go out on those vessels. And they're going to just teach you kind of about the Navy life in general. You're also going to have the capability of spending some time, usually at Camp Pendleton, which is going to be the Marine Corps base here on the West Coast. They're going to take you through various training. They're going to show you the Marine side of the house, the ground side of the house. Like I said, the weapons training. They're going to go through tactics training, but you're going to be able to spend time with Marines on a base, doing a lot of types of cool things. And then they're also going to take you, and they're going to show you some air side of the house. So they're usually going to take you to either a Marine air station or a naval air station. You're going to have the the ability to talk with pilots for both fixed wing aircraft and rotary wing aircraft, being helicopters and things of that nature. And it's just going to kind of give you a lot of broad experiences that the Navy and the Marine Corps has. So that's usually going to be that first summer in between your freshman and your sophomore year. Next slide. And then the summer, usually between your sophomore and your junior year, you're going to go to the Mountain Warfare Training Center to kind of experience that. And that's out of Bridgeport. It's obviously a mountainous terrain. It's going to give you that experience. It's an awesome training center. It's very physically demanding. Obviously, you're hiking up and down mountains. Not exactly the easiest thing, especially when you have equipment. But you're going to be with tons of other Marine midshipmen out there, and it's Marines only. There's not going to be any Navy midshipmen, so this is just for those that are going Marine Corps specific. It's a lot of good team building, a lot of good exercise, obviously, and then it's just it's that mountain warfare environment. So it's not an experience that a lot of Marines get. And the fact that you would get this experience as a Marine midshipman is pretty awesome. The last summer training event that you're going to have is between your junior and your senior year, and this one is this is arguably the suckier one, right? This is officer candidate school, so this is the culminating event ultimately. So for an NROTC applicant, because you are under a 4-year scholarship, you will only have to go to OCS for 6 weeks. So that 6-week OCS course is, like I said, the culminating event. It's where you're going to be tested. It's sort of like officer boot camp, if you will. You're going to be thrusted into a very stressful environment, not going to get a lot of sleep. Usually Marine midshipmen are going to go through the summertime, so you don't have to worry about the cold, the wintertime in Quantico. But it's ultimately your evaluation to see whether or not you have what it takes to be a Marine officer. If you pass OCS successfully, that's when you, at the end of your senior year, will have the option to commission as a second lieutenant in the Marine Corps. I can tell you, with the experiences that you're going to get throughout the NROTC program at school, you should have no issues getting through officer candidate school. It is difficult. It's not impossible. But again, it is an evaluation to see if you have what it takes and you have what the Marine Corps is looking for in order to lead Marines. Next. And again, this talks about the commissioning part. Again, successfully completing officer candidate school, and at the end of your senior year, upon graduation from college, you will commission as a second lieutenant. And again, if you can see that third bullet, the most rewarding part of this is leading Marines. Being able to lead, interact, and serve with Marines is the best part of really the whole program. Next. I'll just go ahead and keep on rolling.
Okay.
So there's a lot of participating schools. You can kind of see some of them on the slide here. This is just a handful, and these are some of the larger name schools, if you will, and universities, right? UC Berkeley, Stanford, University of San Diego, UCLA, Texas University, Florida, things like that. So you can generally Google. These are not all the schools. There's a little over 100 schools that have an NROTC program, which means that they service both the Navy side of the house as well as those going Marine option. Even if you're trying to go to a school that does not necessarily have an NROTC program, it may be a crosstown affiliate of a school that does have that program, which just means, for instance, Sacramento State. If you want to go to Sacramento State, they don't necessarily have an NROTC program. However, that school specifically falls under a larger umbrella program, if you will, by a larger school. Let's just say the UC Davis. I'm not saying that's true, just trying to provide an example. So sometimes you may have to travel between the schools in order to go do the NROTC classes or the labs, but it's completely feasible through those crosstown affiliates. So there's a lot of schools out there that offer this. It's just about getting out there, Googling it, for instance, and just kind of finding out who offers these NROTC programs and who doesn't. But I'm more often than not, most of the schools that you're probably trying to go to, they are going to offer this program. Next. So some of the most benefits, obviously, there is the one up there on the bottom. So the Marine Option NROTC scholarship is worth up to $180,000. When I say that, if you're going to go to a school, a college, or university that does not cost $180,000, well, you're not going to get $180,000. The Marine Corps will pay up to whatever that school's 4 years of tuition is. But granted, even if you're trying to go out of state, there's not a lot of schools other than some of the higher level Ivy League type schools that are really going to be more than $180,000. So you don't have to really worry about the cost of this scholarship covering tuition. It's generally not an issue that I've ever heard of in the 3 years that I've been out here. But again, some of the intangible things that I think everyone should really kind of look into is it's the leadership opportunities. Like I said, throughout the NROTC program, you're going to be instructed by both senior enlisted Marines who have an exceptional amount of leadership capabilities and experiences, as well as other Marine officers being, captains and majors who have been out in the Fleet Marine Corps. Many of these Marines have deployed. They've gone and they've done phenomenal things abroad. So they're providing you with their leadership pretty much classes and knowledge. You're going to get guest speakers and things of that nature. So the fact that you're getting a lot of this leadership education is very beneficial. These are, the Marine Corps kind of has a concept where leaders aren't necessarily born, they're kind of made type thing. Okay, so there's a lot of things that each and every one of us are learning on a daily basis on how to become better leaders, how to sharpen those skills. And you're getting that throughout 4 years of school that most other college students are not getting through this NROTC program. And then again, you're kind of getting that structured academic environment, right? You're going to have fellow students going through the program with you that you can always look to. They're going to set you up. They're going to kind of teach you, right, how to structure your time, how to make sure that you're dedicating enough time to everything that you need to do in order to get everything done. So these are a lot of things. They don't seem that important now, but I could tell you, having been an individual, having gone through school, being provided that structured academic environment is extremely beneficial, and it pays dividends. Again, pays full tuition. On top of the full tuition, you're going to get a monthly stipend, right? So every month that you're in school, you're going to be paid just outright from the Department of Defense, right, from the Marine Corps. So usually your freshman year, you'll get about $250 a month. When you move up as a sophomore, it increases $50, right? So you get $300. As a junior, you get $350. And then as a senior, you'll get $400. This is just your money to do whatever it is that you need to do with it. Obviously, if you want to use it towards your education, paying for books and things of that nature, that's going to be ideal. But again, it is your money, and the Marine Corps is giving this to you as you go through school to assist you. And then again, we kind of already talked about what the scholarship is worth up to, which is $180,000 to cover all the tuition costs. Next slide. Excuse me. So after graduation, that's when you're going to be commissioned again as a second lieutenant. So throughout the Marine Corps, you're usually going to have two avenues to take, right? That's going to be groundside Marine Corps, or you're going to be an air contract. And the air contract is you're ultimately trying to become a pilot. As of right now, for those that are interested in applying for this scholarship, that's really not important because we can't even do that at this level. That's something that's going to happen at your NROTC program after you're accepted for the scholarship. Next. So this is how you apply. I understand this is on a link, but normally the way you apply is you're just going to really just Google. If you want to Google, it's the best thing, right? Marine option, NROTC scholarship, how to become a Marine officer. You're going to go through a program called Net Focus. It's run by the Navy. That is initially where you would apply for this scholarship. Once you apply for that scholarship, and you live in the Sacramento area or the area that I said at the beginning that we cover, you're going to pop up under my queue, right? So I'm an administrator with Net Focus. I'm going to see all of our applicants that pop up, and then from there, I'm going to orient you and point you in the direction that you need to go. For instance, right, if you're in the Sacramento area, I would get you in contact with Staff Sergeant Stegario and his Marines, and they're going to kind of run you through the application process, the package process, everything that you need to have signed by mom and dad, things of that nature. Other than the paperwork aspect and that side of the house, you'll also have to run a Marine Corps physical fitness test. So that's going to incorporate pull-ups. So if you're not good at pull-ups or you don't do pull-ups, I would suggest getting out there and researching some YouTube videos and doing whatever you need to try to get your pull-ups up. And then we also do crunches. And then we do a 3-mile run. The 3-mile run is usually what gets a lot of applicants because 3 miles it's a fairly significant distance. And it's it's the longer of the physical fitness events really out of any branch of the military. I think the Army does a 2-mile and the Navy and the Air Force do a 1.5 miles. So it's just something that you have to prepare yourself for. It's not something that most people can just kind of go into unless you're a cross-country runner. So again, those are some of the main things in terms of what you need to know when you apply. And we should be getting to next slide. We should be getting to the actual criteria. So here we go. These are some of the things that we're looking at for applicants that do apply, right? So SAT, ACT, and ASVAB scores. So in the past, pre-COVID, we were mainly looking at SAT and ACT scores. We fully understand that a lot of those tests have been canceled, and that's okay. If you work with your local recruiting office, right, your local recruiting station in your area, they can get you set up to take an ASVAB, which is what every enlisted applicant takes. However, officer applicants can also take this. You have to score a 74 or above in order to be eligible for this scholarship. Some of the things that we look for are class standings, right? Where do you stand in your class? You know, are you 500 of 500, or are you, you know, you kind of top 10%, whatever the case may be. There's not really a criteria for that. Just understand that we are looking for it, just to kind of rack and stack our applicants, if you will. Same thing with the cumulative GPA. We do look at weighted and non-weighted GPAs. Athletics and extracurriculars. You can never do too many things. And again, anybody, there's no specific requirement for this in order to apply for the scholarship, but do understand that, you know, we look at students who have a very high academic standing, as well as, you know, those same students that attain that, but they're also playing multiple sports. They're involved in clubs at school and things like that. So what that's showing is really your ability to balance multiple things really at one time over a long period of time. So it's just showing that skill set. Are you a member of student government, any, you know, student leadership, any club leadership, team leadership, community service? You know, do you volunteer in your community? And that could be really anything. Soup kitchens, you know, volunteering at church, or whatever the case may be. We look at anything and everything. Nothing is off the table when it comes to that regard. And then lastly, after you normally get the package completed, you will have an interview with 2 Marine Corps officers. So it says 2 Marine officer interviews. We do them together, right? So if you're an applicant, you'll come in and you'll just generally interview with myself, and then I'll have another captain that will interview with. That way we've kind of got 2 different interview forms, 2 different opinions, and then we bring those both together to evaluate the applicant. You're also going to need teacher evaluations. One teacher evaluations that you will need is an English teacher. That is an absolute must. The other evaluations can be really anybody. It can be a math teacher, a science teacher, it could be a coach, it could be an employer, it can be anything along those lines. Just don't have your friend do it. That's gonna kind of be frowned upon. So it does need to be somebody who's in a position of authority, more or less, like I said, a coach, an employer, or something along those lines. And then throughout the application process, where you're also going to have essay questions to fill out. That's going to be something that you do in the application that we're also going to be able to see. Next slide. So here are the eligibility requirements. These are the hard and fast requirements. There's not, if you don't meet all of these, there's not a lot that we can do to waive you in. So first and foremost, you must be a U.S. citizen. Pretty plain and simple. Second, you have to be between 17 and 23 years of age. So what that means is, yes, the main individuals that we are kind of targeting for the NROTC scholarship is more or less going to be high school seniors. However, you can be a high school graduate, obviously based on the years of age there. You just cannot be enrolled in a secondary form of education. So you cannot be enrolled in a community college or a 4-year university in order to apply for the 4-year scholarship. You must be physically qualified per the Marine Corps standards. Like I said, you will take a Marine Corps physical fitness test, and we will evaluate you on that. Being physically qualified means you have to pass with a 200 or higher. So it's the maximum score is a 300. You must pass with a 200. Not that hard. Also, it's not quite as easy as it sounds. So if you get with your local recruiter, they're going to kind of be able to steer you in the right direction and give you the tips and pointers that you need to get that score up. You must be in good academic standing and on track to graduate from high school. Obviously, if you don't graduate from high school, you're not on track to graduate from high school, you're probably not going to be able to get into a 4-year university. So which means we won't be able to apply a 4-year scholarship for you. And then a minimum of a 1,000 on the SATs or a 22 on the ACT. And like I said before, you can get a 74 on the ASVAB, which is the Armed Services Aptitude Battery Test, okay? It's actually Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Test. I missed the vocational part, I apologize. And then again, you also must be pursuing enrollment at a participating NROTC college. I wouldn't worry about that. That's something that we can kind of work through. I would worry about everything above that. U.S. citizen, the age requirement, physically fit, on track to graduate from high school, and then just the minimum academic requirement being 1,000 SAT, 22 ACT, or 74 on the ASVAB. Next. So these are, if you're looking at specifically for Recruiting Station Sacramento, these are just some of the statistics over the last couple of years.
There's more of a recent one. Yeah, you find more of the recent.
Yeah, so there is a more recent one. We just had a couple of boards that went in the previous couple of months, but at the end of the day, you can see that the standings are pretty high, right? It's going to give you about an average physical fitness test score was a 255. The average unweighted GPA was a 3.78. The average SAT scores was almost a 1240. So the average community service hours 278. So I try to provide this to give everyone just kind of a baseline. Now, just because you don't have this score does not mean that you're not eligible. These are just out of all the selectees of previous years. This is about a roundabout average. Okay, I can tell you for myself, I can see a lot of things on paper, and those are all great. But I gauge the applicant really based on the interview, right? That face-to-face interaction that I have with you, because that's really going to tell the whole story. It's going to speak to your character. It's going to speak to your leadership. It's going to speak to the things that we as Marines and Marine officers are looking for in a future Marine officer. So again, do not let these statistics hinder you from applying for this scholarship. Again, if your PFT is not a 255 and it's right there at a 200, you can still get selected. Again, if you convince those two Marine officers that you're having an interview with, and you're forthright, you're truthful, and you just be yourself, and we see that about you, oftentimes that opinion of you will elevate you well past these statistics. So again, this is just kind of a baseline for everyone to follow. Next. So do not pay attention to these dates. I apologize. I did not, or actually, no, these are fairly up to date. So here's the thing with the scholarship. This scholarship normally opens up at about May of every year, about May or June. It's kind of dependent upon that academic year when the Navy decides to open it up. Okay. So like I said, we normally target seniors. For the school year 2021, right, 2020 through 2021, these boards have already convened. So we have an early board and a regular board, also known as a main board. The early board convened back in September, back in October. And then I just came back from the regular board about 2 weeks ago. And those are the only two boards a year. If you are a high school senior right now, you obviously have missed that cutoff. That does not mean that you cannot reapply. Again, bounce back to the age requirements. If you meet all those other requirements and you're somewhere between the ages of 17 to 23, this upcoming year, right, this upcoming May or June, you can begin that process again. The only downside to that is you would be starting school a year later than kind of what you planned. However, there's still that option out there for you. And there's also additional options to becoming a Marine officer that you can kind of research through MarineOfficer.com. This is just specifically covering that for your NROTC board. So right now, really, upcoming juniors, you would absolutely be eligible for the school year between 2021 and 2022, right? Graduating in 2022. So you would be eligible for these upcoming boards as well. So again, we can still take high school graduates. Just understand that you're not eligible to apply for this scholarship if you are currently enrolled in a post-secondary education, a 4-year university or something along those lines. However, you can work with that university if you're already enrolled, and they do, as long as they have a Marine option NROTC program, there are additional opportunities that they can offer you. However, we at the recruiting station level, we just don't offer that. The only thing that we work with is the 4-year scholarship. Next.
Go ahead and go next.
Next. Okay. So that pretty much concludes the presentation that we have. Again, my information is up here. Captain Cernick, I'm the executive officer. I do have my my office number. That's going to be the best way to reach me. And then I also have Staff Sergeant Segario here with the local South Sacramento office. So he's going to be the primary point of contact if you're in the Sacramento area. Again, if you just research Marine officer or you're looking for Additional information, you can also just Google Marine Corps recruiting, and it'll generally bring up your local area. And if you get with that recruiting substation, it's not just for enlistments. They all will also help walk you through the process of the NROTC program. So they do both. So unless you have anything, that's all.
Yeah, that's the main thing. So like if you feel like you do not qualify for this based off of maybe the physical requirement or maybe some of the other requirements are on there, don't be discouraged. There is other options for you still to become a Marine. It's just not going to be through this program. But one of the cool things about this program, I would state, is that I don't know if it stated it on there, but the main thing is you would still be able to also experience the college life. So if it's important to you you also want to be able to do sports in clubs at your school, understand that you can still do all those things. It's actually encouraged that you do that so you can get the full experience and don't feel like you have to take that away from your college life because you're participating in this ROTC program at the school. Because that ROTC program, you're only going to be going to it about twice a week, and it's less than a couple hours that you would be there. And those skills are only going to help you in those other extracurricular activities that you're doing, whether it's your sports or your maybe some of the clubs that you're in. But that's all I really had. So if there's any other questions, this is also the time we would be able to answer those.